It's an amazing event put on. I know Charlottesville Opera obviously involved, Oratorio Society of Virginia involved. I think Charlottesville Ballet involved. Lots of amazing music and arts partners. So we're going to be talking a little bit about that. We might touch a little bit on the Elixir of Love coming up in a few weeks, along with many other things. So it's music, it's fun, it's art, it's family. It's going to be amazing. So we're very excited.
I like the little thing of festival, like
with ALL.
Yeah, that was very creative.
Everyone is welcome.
Yeah,
exactly. A festival for all. So we're really excited about that. And as you can tell, when we have these fantastic guests, we start chatting before the cameras even start rolling. And as you can hear, I'm here with Michael today.
Yes,
it's been
another Michael. Two Michaels today.
Exactly. We're gonna have a double Michael, which some might say double trouble.
Double trouble.
But we'll find out.
With a capital T.
With the T.
And rhyme, yeah.
That was my middle name growing up, my mother.
Yeah, she would run through to get to Michael at the end. All the names, and then he would be the one that she was actually looking for.
Although I got mixed up very often with the dog's
with the dog.
name. Yeah.
You and the dog, because I think you had the same level of troublemaking ability. So you both got mixed up.
We were also often together, so, like causing mischief, so.
Exactly. So as you can hear, I'm here with Michael
Very
today,
happy to be here, Alex.
And so we're looking forward to a great show. We'll get started very shortly on this week before the last week of June.
Yes, I know.
July.
Wow, summer feels like, it really feels like it just started technically, officially, but it feels like it's been going on a while, and June just flew by. I feel like I woke up and it's like, oh, June's starting, it's going to start getting hot, and now I woke up this morning like June's about to end.
Exactly.
It's almost over.
Exactly. So it's going to be, I think it's going to be a hot July. But that's all the more reason to, have fun, be outside, or get into a cool place. Get your café con leche and watch some Today y Mañana.
I think the latter's been more
important what people
the
don't want to
few
do.
Weeks, Alex.
Latter's what people are going to want to do. Absolutely. Let's see. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Today y Mañana. I'm Alex. This is Michael. We're very excited to have you joining us on a beautiful morning here in Charlottesville, Virginia. It is certainly sunny. It is certainly warm.
It has certainly been warm.
It has been warm.
Yes.
It has been mildly humid. So you should get into a nice, cool place. Get your café con leche or your iced café con leche and watch some Today Mañana, because we are going to be joined shortly in the show by two fantastic guests that we are welcoming back. We're going to be joined shortly by Michael Sloan, the conductor, and conductor for Virginia Oratorio Society of Virginia, and Bridget Eversole, education coordinator for Charlottesville Opera. We're going to be talking the festival this weekend, an amazing event happening this Saturday, so in 2 days, that is free for all. So we're going to be learning about that and all the amazing partners involved with that. So we're looking forward to that. As always, love being here on the Olive Seville Network set. Thank you to our presenter, Emergent Financial Services, and our amazing partners at Matias Yon Realty, Charlottesville Opera, Credit, Sirius Insurance, Forward, Adelante. And Michael, I'm glad to be on with you.
I'm happy to be here, Alex.
I've heard it's been a couple weeks?
A couple weeks.
In fact, last time you and I were on, we were talking Music Man.
That's right.
And
you had the chance to see Music Man.
I did. I was able to go. So I think Nick and his wife Elizabeth, who I think always is a great watcher of the show, the amazing Elizabeth Irby.
Is she watching today?
She is watching, and so is my amazing Dr. Elizabeth Irby watching the show this morning.
I was about to say, do we have to send that text? Why aren't you watching the show?
Yep.
You're not watching.
And when we have a couple other people tuning in this morning, Salvador Raona, muchísimas gracias, amigo del programa, watching the show this morning. Monica Miller from Montana joining us this morning. Nicholas Irby would never miss watching something to do with music, so he is watching this morning. And Joanne Blakemore, thank you for tuning in this morning. So we got some fantastic people already tuning in to the show. And yep, I had the pleasure. So Nick and his wife were already going to the Music Man, and then right after that segment that you and I had done a few weeks ago, my wife texted me, he's like, can we go? And I'm like, I was already planning on asking you if we could go, but I'm glad you asked me if we could go. And so we did, and it was just beautiful, like so wonderfully done. And we'll chat maybe a little bit on it with Michael and Bridget. Just beautifully done, great singing, great. And I knew I had only met you and I had met Danny Belcher and Kathleen, who was doing the kind of the directing.
Yeah.
And we met Danny, and I knew, we get the feeling like this guy has the charisma. He's going to be a great music man. Like, he's going to be a great main character. And sure enough, he was just fantastic. He had the charisma, the charm, the way he would smile, and this kind of sly look that he has at the beginning, and just a beautiful story, a lot of songs. I could tell people in the audience kind of like would recognize some of the songs, but not have known that it was from The Music Man. They were like, oh yeah, that's where that song is from, because I've heard it. And let's just say for 3 days afterwards in the office, like the next weekend, I'm pretty sure this past week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, at some point in the office, Nick was like walking around the office going, 76 trombones. And he's like, I can't get it out of my head. And I said, why? And he said, you have to remember, because he went to see the dress rehearsal.
Yes.
He says, you have to remember, I saw that 2 days in a row. It is in my head, and it's not going anywhere for a while.
Well, that's the fun thing about great music, though. It does kind of get stuck in your head, and you kind of find yourself humming it throughout the day. So
it really does. And I feel like the beauty of like some of the great musicals and operas that Charles Schwab has been putting on is that they're so hummable, and that you really find yourself thinking about them a week later, 2 weeks later, and that's really just the mark of like how much people really enjoyed it.
I mean, there's something that had to be said. I mean, you love sometimes the very creative and like really artistically done, classical pieces. But there has to be something said too for every once in a while, like other pieces of music that just have a simple kind of motif that you could just hum like that, and just kind of like hum throughout the day. Because you could think of maybe like a Brahms piece or something like that, or like a Chopin. It's like there's so many different themes going on. It's like sometimes it's hard to kind of hum a singular one. But you get Tchaikovsky, and you could just easily just hum, a Little Swan Lake or a Little
Speaking my language there.
Exactly, yeah. It's just sort of like every once in a while, it's kind of nice to kind of have that.
Exactly. Nicholas putting in a comment here saying, Elizabeth and he were doing Trouble this morning. She was the music man, and he was the chorus. So it's still in their heads, which I think will probably be said for a lot of people.
I don't think that reenactment was probably as good as in the play, but
probably not. But it was really beautifully done, and we enjoyed it tremendously. So, if you're sad that you missed out on it, that's what this segment is for, because there are many more things. There is hope. There are many more things coming forward. So I think that's a great way to segue into our two fantastic guests for today. So we're excited to welcome to the show this morning Michael Sloan, conductor of the Oratorio Society of Virginia, and Bridget Eversole, education coordinator at Charlottesville Opera. Michael, Bridget, thanks so much for coming on this morning.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us,
Excited
as
to be
always.
here.
No, it's a joy to have you both on. So, I mean, I guess the best way to open it is, so the next thing for people who are like, oh man, how did I miss the Music Man? I should have been watching Today Manana 2 weeks ago. Festival coming up this Saturday, starting at 5 p.m. So maybe to start, Michael, could you tell us maybe some of the things on the music side that, including the event partners, that people can be looking forward to this Saturday?
Yeah, absolutely. So, good morning to all your listeners. Nice to be with you. We did this for the first time last year at the Tink Pavilion, and it was something that Leanne at Charlottesville Opera came up with as a concept, and people there. And the idea is that we do a concert open to the public, and in a sense, not just the public, but if you saw the young kids, there last year, it's for all ages, clearly. Kind of a very welcoming, open outdoor atmosphere. And the idea is then that in one program, we would feature our 8 emerging artists, 16 very talented singers from around the country and beyond, who are with us here in Charlottesville this summer, along with the opera orchestra, singers from the Oratorio Society of Virginia, right, our large, one of our the largest community chorus here, and then also the ballet. Charlottesville Ballet.
Charlottesville Ballet, yes.
In a kind of incredible smorgasbord program, which will have opera highlights, musical theater highlights, to your point, Music Man, a few excerpts. If you missed it at the Paramount last week, you can come hear it again a little bit. And a bunch of kind of what we might call greatest hit moments from opera. Solos, duets,
Yes.
Arias and duets and so on. Along with some orchestral pieces as well, including a little bit of, you just mentioned it, Tchaikovsky with the ballet.
With the ballet.
And capped off by some very inspiring, moving, big chorus numbers, including One Day More from Les Miserables.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So it'll be quite a program in 2 days.
Absolutely, and those are some great partners, and that part I know begins at 7 p.m.
Yes.
Is when the concert part. But as Bridget's going to tell us, there's some things going on beforehand.
Right,
You do
lots
not
of
have to get
exciting
there, and
things.
there's some great arts partners too.
We are. Well, first of all, we want to emphasize that this is a free event for everybody. And thanks to our sponsor, our season sponsor, the Joseph and Robert Cornell Memorial Foundation, and then our event sponsor, the Smith Vickers Family Foundation. Again, free for everyone. So we want people to take advantage of it. We've got a group of community arts nonprofits that are involved with us, and from 5 to 7 we'll have activity tents for the kids and kids of all ages, really. The Charlottesville Ballet, the Charlottesville Symphony, the Oratorio Society, Empowered Players, the Virginia Theater Festival, the Paramount, and of course Charlottesville Opera will all be having tents with activities. I believe there's a musical petting zoo. We'll have face painting. We'll have all sorts of fun activities for the kids to do during that time. We'll also have food trucks, pharmacy, as in F-A-R-M,
Yes,
pharmacy
they're
food truck, fantastic, and La Fleur popsicles, and some other fun things. So I think it's going to be a great event for everybody. And you know, we want to invite as many people as we can have from that 5 to 7 time, and then turn it over to Michael and the wonderful groups so that everybody can see how accessible this music is and how fun. And we'll also have some kids up on stage with you.
Yes. That's
at
a
one
great
point.
We're going to have kids. We had kids in the Music Man from our community.
Yep.
These are some talented young people.
Oh,
I gotta
amazing.
say.
Yeah.
Including if you saw the Winthrop and Amaryllis kids that were in the show. And they're going to reprise a little bit of their numbers. But I think Caroline Warr, our artistic director, and with the help of those kids, they're going to actually teach children in the audience a little bit of choreography, so they can move with the music, during maybe 76 trombones. So maybe Nick can get to move around too.
Do you want Nick to jump in the chorus too?
I think he should just do his moves
Oh,
out there.
okay.
Yeah. To be honest, he and I probably need the choreography lesson even more than the not like move with the music. They're supposed to be out of tune with it. But Kimberly Lauder watching the show this morning. Terrence Hyde, thanks for tuning in. Holly Sloan, the wonderful Holly Sloan.
She's pretty great.
Watching the show this morning. So we appreciate everyone who's
So
tuned
I
in.
have a quick question. So, how did you when you were kind of setting up the music program of kind of like what pieces you want to play? How does that like come into effect? How do you kind of decide what you want to play? Is it like a group of you that kind of figures that out?
That's a very interesting question, Michael. Normally, as you know, if I'm doing something at UVA or with the Oratory Society, usually I'm the one that would propose a program. People sometimes have to approve it financially, but I come up with the vision. This is a little different model, right? So we sit down, excuse me, Leanne, right, Clément, who's the general director, and Caroline, the artistic director, and I, all kind of put our heads together, especially Caroline, because she has auditioned these emerging artists, right? And that comes, she loves to quote this number, but Bridget, am I right? 650 or so?
Yeah, over 600 people auditioned for this year.
For
and
these
so we have these
spots.
16 spots. So, I mean, these are some of the top
Yeah.
emerging singers
Exactly.
all over the world, which is super exciting. And so I think with that, they want to showcase all of their strengths and what they can do, and also want to give them the chance to sing what they love.
Exactly, and with an orchestra, which they wouldn't always, as a young artist, have a chance to do, right? And so then what we do is Caroline and I would look through and kind of suggest, well, what is good for this person's voice? You know, like, is this mezzo a Carmen? Or is this soprano a Queen of the Night? And I mention those because we're going to hear both of those
Wonderful.
this weekend.
The
And
classic Carmen song.
yeah, habanera,
yeah,
of course,
okay.
Absolutely.
which is Cuban originally. Very interestingly, we can talk about that later. But in any case, the idea is to find the sweet spot for these artists. What is something that works well for them? But then also balance the program so we don't just have all from one time period or all from one composer. And then I also intersperse either big choral numbers. We're going to reprise this beautiful medley of You'll Never Walk Alone from Carousel and Climb Every Mountain from Sound of Music, one of my favorites,
Yes.
that we did with the Oratory Society on a concert earlier this season, but now we'll do it at this concert with orchestra, and I think be very moving. And then, of course, we started with an overture, too, so this year, Magic Flute Overture.
Oh, yes, that's excellent. And that's a nice fun one
Wonderful.
to start with. Do you have to think about, do you think at all about, okay, what are great entry level things for newcomers to hear that would maybe get them more
Right.
interested in opera or
I think, and I'm curious to hear what Bridget thinks about this in a minute too. I think one of the great things about this program, if you see the young people just there, you can look at the photos from last year, just kind of listening with rapture to some of these things. And you never know, right, who it's going to touch in the more than just normal way, meaning one of these kids could go on to music, any kind of music. Some will just become interested as audience members. Some might become arts administrators. I mean, there's any number of paths. But you do hope that's the whole point of it in a way, is to plant seeds that will then grow. And I think when you look at the list on this program, the musical theater numbers, I mean, people that know Newsies, which is a little, it's a little after our time, but younger people know that music well, and one of our singers is going to do that. But also the duet from Bizet's Pearl Fishers, which people always call like a top 10 duet in all of opera. So you have these kind of greatest hits. So I think the attraction will be immediate.
Yes.
Don't you think?
I think so. And when you're talking to singers or anybody really, we all have a different piece that captured us.
Yes.
And I think that's part of the variety of everything. But also having these emerging artists on stage who look like all of us, who, we're just normal people up here singing. And then we have, even at Music Man, my 12-year-old daughter came with me and some of her friends, and they said, oh my gosh, I know Winthrop, or oh my gosh, I didn't know she was Amaryllis. And they were so excited just seeing not just, the people and the older singers, not older, but then the kids, the adults, thank you. But then having the kids up there too, I think it makes it even more accessible for everybody. And, Carmen was my first opera that I saw.
Is that right?
It was.
Mine was Marriage of Figaro.
Was it?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, mine wasn't until I was in college.
Same.
Yeah. So I think, there's something for everybody, and there's enough variety that it will reach somebody out there.
Absolutely, I think so too. And the beauty of something like the Emerging Artist Program is that I think sometimes, if you were to if your first, like my first foray opera was a recorded one. I watched Cavalleria Rusticana with my grandmother. But my daughter,
Nice.
she knew that really well. But like if your first foray sometimes is the most famous people, then you're like, well, that was Placido Domingo. I'll never do Placido Domingo, right? But to be able to see, but of course, like before Placido Domingo was at his peak doing these big roles, he was a young guy, an emerging artist doing it, but we don't have a lot of video recording of him doing that. So to be able to see these emerging artists, young artists, who are doing this can kind of maybe help them say, hey, you know what, you can be a normal person and do that. You don't just wake up one morning and you are Pavarotti, you know what I mean? Like,
Right.
You start off as a young emerging artist, as a child sometimes, but sometimes as a young adult, and you see the talent there, and you see what they're doing and the work they're putting
To cultivate
in,
it.
to
I don't know if it's
cultivate.
normal, it's true. And people can become these things.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the other great thing about this, I have a college-age nephew who's living with me this summer. He's here for an internship, and he said, Aunt Bridge, I don't know if I can go to a 3-hour opera. And I said, sure you can. But let's start with the Ting on Saturday, and then you can see this is just a string of these wonderful pieces put together, and so I think it makes it more accessible just for the length of time and being able to move around and.
Yeah.
everything. And he will be going to Elixir too.
Yeah, that's
just
true.
For the record.
This is a good program for the modern attention span because it
True.
jumps around
yeah.
very quickly all over the place. Yeah.
Well, I think that's the problem sometimes with opera is that it feels daunting because people have this in their head of kind of like a 3-4 hour of people singing. I'm not sure I'm gonna like everything, but I think it's a good way sometimes to just introduce people to these little opera pieces. Like, see how good it can be. You can watch it for 3-4 hours. I mean, and I've
Sure.
always had problems with people's like, I don't have the attention span. I'm like, today people binge watch a Netflix show for like 5 straight hours. You have the attention span.
You have it.
Just have to
Yeah.
apply yourself.
Yes, exactly. You have to
And
apply yourself.
Elixir is not the longest opera. So it's I think and it's very charming. And
It's very charming. And Goonies. A lot of people know Goonies, and that's the one that they listen to, Una Fortiva. Right? Am I
is
right?
that right? Isn't it? I
can't
didn't.
remember.
I didn't remember
The-
that.
that's-
To be honest,
Sloth and-
I know religion, but I don't know Doonies.
Yeah.
is my know.
Oh
it's
no!
hard. So
You have
that's
to
what
check
I
that
wouldn't be
out.
able to answer. I'll have to check that out and see which one they're listening to. But the beautiful something about something like Greatest Hits too is people will have a lot of those reactions. I think because how many times in commercials,
Right.
and in TV shows and in movies will you hear a piece of an opera, and
Well,
it's usually going to be a greatest.
So
hit.
let me name 2 more pieces on the program we haven't mentioned yet. One is the flower duet from Lakme. As soon as that gets used in movies and commercials all the time, it's a stunning. I mean, that duet is
Gorgeous.
breathtaking, beautiful. Also, for those who are fans of musical theater from the late '80s that have endured for a long time, I mentioned Les Mis already, but for the first time ever that I'm aware of in recent times, we're going to be doing some excerpts from The Phantom of the Opera. And that is something that I know there will be a whole segment
yes.
of that audience. As soon as they hear that chromatic, organ chord, they will respond to that.
Oh, I'm looking forward to that. That's probably my favorite musical.
Is that right?
Is Phantom of the Opera.
Well, yeah, certainly. I mean, I've never watched too many musicals. That's the one that the music kind of just really hits you, and I find every song captivating. And it's kind of like, and plus, like the Phantom music, like you said, with the organ, it's kind of like dark but enchanting in a way.
And to be honest, I think when you grow up
Well
as a
described.
classical music fan, you gravitate towards the Phantom of the Opera.
Right.
Because it's
Yeah, one of the singers or one of the coaches said that he was in opera partly because of hearing Phantom of the Opera as a little
that's
kid.
so interesting,
Isn't that
yeah.
interesting?
It is.
Because I mean, it's a musical,
Yeah.
really, but it has operatic elements.
Exactly.
Yeah,
the way the music
absolutely.
is written kind of guides you towards opera.
And of course,
it's
it's set in one of the most famous opera houses in the world. So
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, and Danny had talked about it a couple weeks ago, Danny Belcher, that we like to make, and for a long time historically, we've made distinctions between musical theater and opera. But a lot of opera houses, and Charlottesville Opera, I think, is kind of at the forefront of this, at least in our community, of saying, well, it doesn't really have to be this distinction. They have so many elements in common.
Right.
I mean, the style of music may be different, but especially when you harken back to like Mozart operas, right? I mean, sometimes people think of opera and you think of like a continuous stream of music, like Wagner. And Les Mis is essentially a
Yeah,
Wagner
it is a
opera.
continuous
It never
stream.
stops.
Yeah.
But a lot of the older operas, like Don Giovanni and stuff,
Magic
it's-
Flute would be
Magic Flute, it's kind of
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
a musical because they sing a song and then they do the little sing-songy talk thing with the harpsichord, and then they sing another song, and that's kind of what a musical is. It's sing a
Right.
song, talk maybe, and sometimes in
Yeah.
a sing-songy voice, and then do another song. And
Yeah.
so they're beautiful ways that you can kind of
Well,
go between.
there's 2 ways you can think about that. One is you have these pieces that bend the genre lines, right? Like Sondheim, Sweeney Todd, right? It's been done as a musical on Broadway. It's also been done in opera houses, But also, you could think about it in terms of the types of voices. And I think one of the great things about Charlottesville Opera is, you mentioned Danny Belcher, and also Lindsay, our Marion. Both of them are just beautiful singers.
Yeah.
And so to hear Music Man, right, a kind of a classic golden age, in a sense, musical, sung at that level.
Yes.
Right.
That's one of the things this company does really quite beautifully, and it was really enjoyable to hear it sung that beautifully.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Good singing is good singing, no matter
That's true.
what it
That's a
is.
great point. And you know, because you teach it too.
Right. And I think just being able to adapt to the different styles is really important. And singers need to be able to do that nowadays because so many people are doing the crossovers.
Yeah.
So I think that is important.
And really just, I think the power of the voices is what struck me, because obviously with a musical, you do often have the
mics. Yeah.
which you don't have in opera.
Right.
But to hear, of course, in Lindsay and Danny, two people who have the voices for opera, singing it just, I mean, when they start singing, it just booms.
Right.
Because you already have such a powerful voice that, particularly if your first foray into like Music Man or like last year's Guys and Dolls, like my first time I watched Guys and Dolls was the movie.
Right.
And so the difference between Marlon Brando and I forget what was his name? I forget the name of the gentleman who sang Sty last year in Guys and Dolls, but he was operatically trained.
Right.
The difference was
Keith, I
night
think.
and day. I mean, you just the music just comes out of his mouth, and it's melodic and beautiful. And I think for a lot of people who maybe saw their first foray was the movie musical of The Music Man, where I mean they're on a sound stage, the audio quality is nothing like they have today. To then go see and have the opportunity to hear something like that, which they'll be able to do again this weekend, hear those actual beautiful voices singing it.
You know, and I would just put a plug in for one of the things I do a lot, which is work with choruses.
Right.
That was another aspect I thought of Music Man that was just stunning, was we had all these wonderful community singers and the emerging artists together. And those choral numbers really came to life. Also with Casey's beautiful choreography.
Yes.
I mean, they really came to life in a way you might not hear elsewhere. So.
And part of that too, I want to give credit to the sound engineers, because part of that with
That's
the
true,
mic,
too. They have to-
you have to really know how to mic a
And there's like
classically trained
there's 30
singer well.
mics.
There were
in
a ton
play.
of mics,
In
and
play.
they were so. Kudos to them. That was. I would
Over
have
at
a
the
little bit of
Paramount.
anxiety about that.
Yeah, no, Nick had told us when he went to the dress rehearsal, you know, like the mic guys, they had to kind of keep adjusting to, like, when you raise one guy's mic, then someone had to come on stage, so you quickly had to raise the other, and it was constantly adjustment, even to the last minute during the dress rehearsal. It's like, okay, do that a little earlier, do that a little later.
Yeah.
It's still a lot of work.
Which speaks to the quality of the production, that it just
Absolutely.
it is as high a quality as you could possibly imagine. It's just so beautifully done. And it says Keith Fairs sang
Yes,
Psy
Keith, exactly.
last year. Ashley Elizabeth watching the show, Donna Given tuning into the show. Just want to keep giving the shout outs to those who are tuning in. Speaking of, a beautiful production. So obviously this weekend is going to be festival starting at 5 p.m. I did want to ask you, Bridget, do people need to RSVP in any way for that?
It will be helpful if they RSVP, which they can do that on our website, charlottesvilleopera.org. I believe it's under the education or events. It's under both
Okay.
pages. But you don't have to. So if you decide that day you want to come, absolutely. The more the merrier. Just come
Yeah,
on.
and I would just add, obviously the weather's been a little warm lately, but the good news is we'll be under the canopy of the Ting Pavilion, and hopefully by then it'll cool off a little in the
And you can get the
evening.
popsicles too.
Yeah, and 7:00 concert if it's nice like it was last year. We had a thunderstorm in the middle of the day, and then the sun came out last year, and it was quite lovely.
It'll be beautiful. I'm sure of it.
And the
I'm
kids'
sure.
activities, would those also be underneath the umbrella, or would that be like towards the Ting area?
Yeah.
Where would those be?
I think last year was right under the back of the canopy.
Got it, okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, once you
I
find the
don't- you know.
downtown mall, once you find the downtown mall, you can't miss it. Go to the big pavilion, and it'll all be towards
Yeah.
that direction.
Yeah.
Even if it's a little more forward or more back. I did want to talk a little bit about, because we've touched on it a little bit, but the next opportunity after this weekend, there's actually going to be a couple, one for kids. That Bridget can speak to, but maybe you can tell us a little bit about that, Bridget, the event for the children coming up.
Okay, so we have Kids Fest for the Elixir, which is, I believe, July 9th.
So that July
Yes.
9th at 1:30 p.m.
From
That's
1:30.
a terrible day, July 9th. Terrible day.
She's making fun of it's my birthday.
Oh, well, see, you can come celebrate.
Exactly.
So this is another free event. Again, we are so grateful that we have such wonderful sponsors and donors.
Yeah,
But
board
what we
members.
do, we just did one for the Music Man, and we had about 200 people there. And the only admission for adults is that you must bring a child. So there is an RSVP online as well. But what happens is the kids come in, we do kind of a mini tour of the Paramount. We show them the pit and the all the production stuff behind the scenes from the orchestra level. And then we have a few of the artists come out and talk to the kids, and they can ask any kind of question that they want. And then they get to go up into the balcony, eat some popcorn, and watch the first act of, we did the Music Man, and so now we'll do the first act of Elixir. And it's really fun. And then they get some swag to take home that is themed on whatever, whatever. We can't really send them home with wine for this one. So we're working on that. My 12-year-old's helping me out with that one. So
What will appeal?
yeah, what will appeal?
Get a little vibe like cranberry juice and say it's a love potion.
Well, she said, what if you get grape juice or something with grapes? But we'll keep it a surprise, so I won't say too much.
The kiddos have something to look forward to. That's a beautiful thing. I think it's worth mentioning, because one of the things I love about Charleston Opera is that there really is a concerted effort, probably led by yourself, really, to make sure that the next generation comes and can learn to appreciate opera in their own way, and see maybe a role for themselves, if not on the stage, but in all the different aspects of putting on such a beautiful production.
Yeah, right.
I think Leanne, right, who heads up the company, also Melissa Young, one of our board members, I think they very much are into that as well. I mean, they really believe in that.
Yeah, they're so supportive of all of it, and it's wonderful. We had when I came, the first project I did was a Finding Your Voice, Sing Me a Story, that we put on at the Paramount in the spring, and it was just that, showing all of the different aspects of what happens in opera.
Yeah.
From,
that was good.
It was I think it was wonderful. Yeah. But it was, the production side as well as the singers, the choreographer, everything. So, we want the kids to be able to see there's lots of different aspects, and takes a village to put on these wonderful shows.
Absolutely.
Yes, it does.
It absolutely does. And I mean, and Elixir is a great one, I think, for them to get into, because it's a very lighthearted opera. For those who maybe aren't familiar with the story in the audience, it's basically a young man, he's in love, he wants to get this young girl to love him back. Con man comes into town selling wine, which he claims is the elixir of love. The young man takes some, and then does begin to find that everyone, for a mysterious reason, which he attributes to the elixir, is treating him very differently. And you don't find out, I think, until later on in the story why that may be. But it has some fantastic music and songs in the opera, and it's definitely very, very lighthearted.
There's something, I realize there's kind of a humorous thread that runs through, starting last year with Guys and Dolls.
Oh, right. All
right?
of the
So
con.
you got all these con guys. Sky Masterson comes in. Then we had Harold Hill, right? He shows up in town, and he's going to, sell something. Although in his case, he gets transformed.
That's true.
Presumably by Marion.
I just the way
But
Sty does as well.
In this case, we'd get another comment show up with
We'll have to
his
ask Leanne about all of this.
elixir, There's clearly a
it's definitely a
theme. I think she's already pointed that out.
running through it this year. This year, certainly, but I think you're right,
Yeah,
starting
it goes all the
going
way back.
to last year.
Yeah. Apparently, it's something that attracts people who write musical theater productions.
But from the music side, what can maybe you tell the audience about the style of music and what they can
Well,
look forward to
Donizetti,
with the
that'll be beautiful. That's a beautiful opera, and as you say, it's certainly more accessible and lighthearted, right? It's meant to be charming and funny in a lot of cases, and I don't think the audience ever feels angst. Nemorino may feel angst, right, about his situation, but so I think that it's a great place for someone who's younger or also young in their experience of opera to come out and enjoy it. And I think it's certainly one of those that gets listed on the top 15 operas performed, all the time. Una Furtiva is, of
Right.
course, the famous aria, but I think it'll be lovely. And I think here's one way we could relate it to younger or newer audiences. You were talking about the plot also. If they've read Harry Potter, right? Isn't there an exact same thing where Ron takes this potion and it's supposed to be helping him, but really it's that comes all. It happens in Sweeney Todd with the miracle elixir Pirelli. I mean, this is a through theme, and it lends to a lot of hijinks and good humor and high times, I think.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Actually, when we were talking about the swag bag for the Kids Fest, that was one thing my daughter brought up was, well, Harry Potter does all of these elixirs.
Exactly.
What could we do?
Yeah,
So,
good luck or love
Yeah.
potion or
Lots of
whatever.
love potions.
So-
It's a truth serum, whatever. I don't know what they have going
so
on.
it's relatable.
There's also, by the way, a lot of choral music in Italian, of course, but there will be supertaz. But in this opera also has a lot of exciting choral music, and of course the orchestra will be there. And there's what you mentioned before, recitative. So
Oh, yeah,
those
exactly.
kind of
So you can kind of
those moments, as we know from music history, that kind of speed the action along or the plot, and then you pause in an aria and get inside a character's heart or mind and hear what they're actually thinking,
Right.
feeling.
which will be beautiful and a nice chance. Nick is trying to even like do the connect the line even to Tosca last year, that the two main characters kind of taunt each other also between Tosca and the Scarpia. They're kind of fooling each other on that one.
Yeah.
There, but and I think that it's always fun to see the variety of operas. So for anyone who attended Tosca last year, okay, that's a very
So
heavy
powerful.
Right.
opera, but opera
beautiful.
isn't always heavy. I mean, your first one was the Marriage of Phaedra, which is
Yeah, very
not quite as heavy as
humorous. Heavy moments, but
Heavy moments,
mostly
but-
incredibly funny and brilliantly
exactly, and
written.
so and a different style, because I think Puccini's his recitatives are kind of very musical, and I think if I'm remembering Elixir of Love, it kind of harkens back a little bit more to very pushing the action forward very quickly in those. So
Yeah.
it's a different.
Yeah, Elixir would kind of come
style.
between Mozart and Puccini,
And
obviously.
Puccini,
So, yeah.
As far as those are concerned, and yeah, Donizetti just does a fantastic job. Made very hummable tunes to our
okay.
early
Absolutely.
points. Like you'll come out of there, I think, humming a couple of the
One would hope, yeah.
arias.
Yeah.
And you'll have those moments too. Oh, I know this. This is where this is from. You'll have lots of those
Exactly.
moments.
Yeah, just
as
like in
well.
Rossini, right?
Yeah.
You go to Rossini sometimes and people are like, oh, I have heard this before.
I've heard this
Yeah.
exactly. Or will there be, out of curiosity, and it doesn't have to be a yes, will there be any sneak previews of Elixir this weekend?
Yes, the Una Furtiva
Okay.
is on the program. So, the whole idea is that at Festival, we do highlight a little bit the main season, right? Which is, of
Yeah.
course, Music Man and Elixir of Love. So we have excerpts from both. Just so if they haven't been over to the Paramount, they get a taste of what
Taste
the
of it.
company is up to indoors, so to speak. Yeah.
Exactly,
Yeah.
which is really just a beautiful thing, because it's an opportunity, particularly if you've missed out, or weren't here for one. Because the challenge, of course, with operas that you can't do 30 showings.
No, yeah.
It's not
Right.
the type of thing where it's gonna be, oh yeah, I have 20 opportunities to see the Music Man. Right? You had your 4 opportunities.
Maybe in New York.
Maybe in New York,
Yeah.
exactly. And now you'll have 2 chances in July, so on July 12th and July 14th, to see The Elixir of Love. But here's this beautiful little concert in the middle, where you can just get an experience of what that would be like if it's the first time.
Except not little, because we'll have a lot of people on that stage.
Yeah, yeah, it's true. I say
70,
little as in
75
one
or
event, right?
something. Maybe. Yeah.
It's a huge. How big is the chorus going to be?
The course will be, I think, around 45.
Which is
And then you got the orchestra, which is over 20.
Mm-hmm.
And we
Some
have
kids.
we've got kids and
Some
ballet.
dancers,
I mean, of
yeah.
course, the emerging artists, I counted them, but yeah, they'll be out front. Exactly.
It's just
Yeah.
It's just I know it's true. We
Love
say
it.
that you would think, oh, a free event at the Ting Pavilion.
Yeah, it's just
it's
pretty
gonna be-
fancy for a free event.
This is
In a good way.
large production,
Yeah.
and a chance. Particularly, I would say too, if you haven't been to an oratorio society. I mean, oratorio society, you get the full. We went to the Beethoven night. You get the full
Thanks,
90.
Yeah.
that
which
was
is something else.
that's extraordinary and very special. You know, we've talked about that on this very show.
But there's not a lot of places where you even get 45.
Yeah.
Senior chorus on a stage.
And
You
certainly
get a
on this
chance,
repertoire. Yeah.
Exactly. To really hear great emerging artists.
Great.
With a complete
I
orchestra.
mean, great. Let's underline that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
A complete orchestra and a large chorus and ballet in one place that you could hear it. And so it is the type of thing that, if not in Charlottesville this Saturday, you would have to pay a lot of money.
Yeah.
to see if
And
it's
again,
this
it's free.
size. And
I mean, it's free.
Yes,
So-
that is a great point. You would, yeah.
I mean, so yeah, if you're thinking, oh yeah, I'll go up to New York and see this, yeah, you're gonna pay $200 to see this up in
Easily.
So enjoy the opportunity to have world class. To your point,
Absolutely.
Bridget, I mean, the emerging between the emerging artists and the actual stars that come to. I mean, Danny is now performing. I mean, I think he I don't know if he's already gone to Hawaii, but he's been everywhere. Lindsay has been at the Met.
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, and I'm sure the stars for Elixir. I mean, you're talking worldwide, world-class artists here in Charlottesville, where your next opportunity to see them may be in Vienna. So it's not coming around again soon. So it's
Yeah, that's been a kind of a hallmark of the company in some ways. If you go back through its history, even back when the days when it was Ashlon, and we were, I remember this having conducted years ago outdoors, up at, the Monroe residency,
Yep.
and there would be emerging artists or young artists that came through there that went on and had a big career. Eric Owens is, of course, one of the
Yes.
most famous examples. But Brian Damaris, our wonderful conductor for
fantastic job.
Elixir and for Music Man and all that, he and I were, just kind of talking shop as conductors and talking about how many people at some point who are in the business have come through the company. Yeah.
which is really a testament to the
Yeah.
quality of what we're privileged to hear
Yeah.
here
Yeah,
in Charlottesville.
exactly.
And for free this weekend.
weekend.
So be sure to check that out. Bridget, so I know the best place probably is charlottesvilleopera.org for certainly for Kids Fest and for the festival this weekend. If you want to RSVP, then you don't have to.
You don't have to.
You can come for free. Just show up if you got family in town and you're like, oh man, where do I take them this weekend? Well, you
Absolutely.
have a perfect opportunity.
There's only one place to take them.
There is only one place to take them this weekend, and so it'll be the Teen Pavilion down here. Starting at 5 p.m., a lot of the activities from 5 to 7. That's when you have your
Correct.
food trucks, your tents, and so forth, and then the concert itself.
7:00, and it just, if parents are worried, concerned about younger children, it goes to 8:30 basically,
Right.
no intermission.
Okay, so
7-8:30.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's beautiful. You'll get them to bed in time, especially in the summer. I mean, the sun will still be out at
It will.
8:30
yeah.
Right.
at this time of year, so you'll still have plenty of light, and it's going to be a beautiful time for everyone, for all. So it's going to be fantastic. And then as far as tickets for Elixir of Love, there's two places you can go to. I believe it's the Paramount. Let me double check that.
Paramount.
theparamount.net.
Yeah.
You can purchase, or you could go again to charlottesvilleopera.org, because once you get there are links.
There are links,
You can
yep.
go, you can pick the Elixir of Love, and it'll have a link that'll help take you to the place to buy tickets for that at the Paramount Theater. So again, festival, 5 p.m. this Saturday is when it starts. Kids Fest is July 9th at 1:30 p.m. So right in there. So it's great to summer. Hey, if you need something to do with your kids,
Yeah.
because it's summer vacation is in full swing. So
And
midday-
snacks and AC are provided.
Oh, yeah.
You can't get much
Free.
better than that. For free.
free AC. So to never turn that down. And then Elixir of Love, July 12th at 7:30 p.m. So that's your evening concert, and July 14th at 2 p.m. So that is your matinee concert. So you have some great opportunities to really enjoy fantastic music. And really, Michael, Bridget, it's always such a pleasure to have
Thanks,
you.
Thank you so
thanks.
much.
Love
Yeah, thanks
talking
for having
music
us on.
and art with
Absolutely.
you. So it's
That's great. You
always-
guys appreciate it too. Your whole family. So that's a wonderful.
It's
Thank
really our highlights.
Yeah.
Some of our highlights of the year are our Charlottesville Opera season, and then the Oratorio Society's
Great.
season. So it's magnificent.
We have to schedule we have to organize a schedule around those events pretty much. It's like, okay, when's the concert series?
Oh,
Okay,
yeah.
when's the oratorio? When's
Well,
Charlottesville Opera? We gotta make
I
sure.
made I think pretty much back as soon as we had you on, Michael, to talk
Beethoven was at UVA, 'cause we did
last
UVA,
year.
I think, too.
And we had you on last year to talk the Christmas concert.
Yeah.
And that's right after you and Christine had announced that May 12th was going to be Beethoven. I mean, I'm calling my wife after this concert like, look, I don't know what you have to do. She's a resident at UVA. I'm like, I don't know what you have to do to get off call that weekend, but do it because
And it worked? And it worked?
And it worked. She did it. I think she had to
Beautiful.
trade with someone. Call
Worth
with
it.
that.
But I'm like, Beethoven's Ninth
Yeah.
at the Oratorio Society, the quality there is worth it. And same thing. I mean, thankfully, she didn't have to trade anything to do to go to the Music Man, but she was calling me saying, "Hey, we're doing the Music
Good.
Man."
Yeah,
Good.
as a family, we're like, okay, you see these days, no vacation days. We're here on this weekend, this weekend, this weekend. Don't plan anything.
That's
That's beautiful that it means that much.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful thing, and just I think it's just important. I think for our community, it's kind of why we love having you on. Is for our community. Sometimes I think. We have a lot of entrepreneurs on the show,
Yep.
and I think people in general, I think, are kind of realize how lucky they are to live in Charlottesville. But I think sometimes it's just worth pointing out and reminding people how lucky we are to have just beautiful music like Charlottesville Opera and like Oratorio Society of Virginia here, and like Charlottesville Ballet here in Charlottesville, because not everyone is as lucky as we are to have that
is
here.
true.
So
Yeah.
it's important to remind people of it.
Well, thank you.
So on that vein, thank you both so
Yes,
much.
thank you both.
For what
Thank
you
you.
do, and we look forward to
you.
having you back again soon.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
Take care. And a couple other people tuning in. Abby Hobbs, John Blair, Danny Tarbord, Otto Soto is tuning in. Sadit Pathan, thank you so much for all tuning in this morning and watching the show.
Yeah.
And it's been
Like you mentioned, Alex, too. It's so wonderful to have so much of this like variety of music accessible to the community, and also like Michael and Bridget talk about exceptional artists too,
Exactly.
singers. The orchestra, the dancers, like everybody, to have that quality of entertainment right here. Like you don't have to go to Richmond or Washington, D.C. You only have to go 10, 15, 20 minutes to Charlottesville
Exactly.
to actually have that type of entertainment.
So it's a
It's pretty
beautiful-
special.
It's a beautiful thing, and I did. As we close out here, I did want to. We didn't have a chance. I almost forgot to talk about Xavier. Oh, let me get his last name. Was supposed to join us this morning. Xavier Taylor. He is a local composer. One of his pieces from his story song musical Abioyo will also be performed at this concert.
okay.
So it's going to be a great opportunity.
And he's a
not
local
only-
composer from
Yeah,
here?
to not
Very
only
cool.
hear emerging artists, but to hear emerging composers.
Wow.
So that'll be really cool too. So if you go to the concert at 7 p.m. This Saturday, you'll be able to hear that as well. So that's going to be fantastic. So it's been a great show. Always
It really
love
has.
having Michael and Bridget on. Next week, it's going to be 4th of July. So there will be no Today Manana.
No
we will be
show.
celebrating.
What's everyone going to be doing now if there's no today mañana?
Enjoy some fireworks and some.
Not at 10:15 in the morning.
Okay, not
though.
10:15.
What are they going to do? They're going to sit there Thursday morning and be like, I don't know what to do with myself.
Yeah, but you'll find something.
Yeah.
And then the 11th, we will hopefully be joined by Miguel Corradine. Miguel del Programa from Credit Serious Insurance is going to be joining us on the 11th.
Always a great show with Miguel.
Always fun to have Miguel on. So appreciate being here.
No, thank you for
with
having
you.
me, Alex.
Thank you to all our amazing viewers this morning. Really appreciate everyone who tuned in. Be sure to share all the info again this weekend, Saturday starting at 5 p.m. with a concert at 7 p.m. The festival, Arts for All Festival. And then Elixir of Love, July 12th, 7:30 p.m., July 14th, 2 p.m., charlottesvilleopera.org. We'll have all your information. Thank you to Emergent Financial Services for presenting. Thanks to our amazing partners, Credit Serious Insurance, Matthias Young Realty, Charlottesville Opera. Thank you to more viewers. They keep coming in, so if I missed your name, sorry. Jess Walter Sorry. Thanks for tuning in this morning, and really appreciate everyone who joined us. Thank you, Michael.
Thank
for
you,
being with
Alex,
me.
for hosting.
Always love it. Thanks, Judah, behind the camera, making us all look good. Thank you, our amazing audience. We look forward to seeing you in a couple weeks. But until that time, happy 4th of July, and nos vemos. Hasta mañana.